Hey, what's going on everyone? Vasco here and welcome back to the channel. And welcome to a brand new series for the channel that I'm still trying to figure out a name for, but basically where I talk to you guys about everything that's happening in Formula 1 in a more chill and unscripted sort of way. So without any further ado, let's actually begin the series, and if you guys got any name suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Let's do this! Okay, so in this video let's actually talk about one of the main topics and one of the highlights of every Formula 1 season, and that's the silly season. So this is a part of the Formula 1 season where we speculate wildly and try to figure out which drivers are going to end up in which teams for next year. And today I think that the silly season is just beginning to ramp up with the confirmation that Sergio Perez will be at Red Bull for 2023 and 2024. So that's why I think that it's a good time to talk about this, and I've got my notes right here with every single driver that's been confirmed so far and every single driver that hasn't. So let's actually take a look at this. So you can see here from Formula 1's Instagram that Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell and Valtteri Bottas all have contract confirmations for next year, whereas Guan Yu Zhou doesn't have one, Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda also don't, and Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll also don't have contract confirmations, but we can expect that both Vettel and Stroll will continue at Aston Martin, and that Gasly and Tsunoda will continue at AlphaTauri. When it comes to that Alfa Romeo seat, I'm not quite sure, but I think that Zhou is performing actually quite well, so I would not be surprised if they confirmed him. And when it comes to Ferrari, we have Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, of course, both confirmed up until 2024. And when it comes to McLaren, things are going to get interesting because we have Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo confirmed up to the end of 2023, but I think that there's a little bit of room for change here. Then when it comes to Alpine, we have someone plus Esteban Ocon, so Ocon is confirmed. And when it comes to Haas, we have only Kevin Magnussen confirmed, but then at Williams we have neither of their two drivers confirmed. So the main reason I'm making this video, and the reason that you probably have seen over the last couple of weeks all over YouTube and social media, is that Daniel Ricciardo's contract with McLaren seems to be up for grabs. So neither Ricciardo nor McLaren seem happy with their current performance, and honestly, compared to Norris, it's the second season in a row that Ricciardo is really struggling to match his teammate. And we all knew that Daniel Ricciardo is one of the last technical drivers on the grid, and that because of that it takes a lot longer than his teammate to get used to a car. So just like he did at Renault last year, he struggled a lot to get to grips with his brand new McLaren. And then this year, instead of having that continuation with the 2022 McLaren, no, because the rules reset, so he has to learn a brand new car from scratch. And to add to that, it's a totally different car to drive. So in my opinion, that's why Ricciardo is struggling. But nonetheless, he's struggling a lot. And I think that with the Sergio Perez contract confirmation, I think that there's a lot of potential for Daniel Ricciardo to be replaced with Pierre Gasly at McLaren. So just hear me out. Pierre Gasly won't want to stay at AlphaTauri for the rest of his life, and he already had a shot with Red Bull, and I think that this Perez contract at Red Bull really puts the nail in the Pierre Gasly to Red Bull coffin, because I just don't think that Pierre will want to wait 2 more years at AlphaTauri to be promoted to Red Bull. And I think that with that said, he will want to be out of the Red Bull Young Drivers program as soon as possible, and he will want to break free from what's really a team that's not been treating him very well in Red Bull. Of course, that AlphaTauri has been treating him very well and gave him the car that he won his first race with, but I just think that it's been a little long in the tooth for Pierre to be still in AlphaTauri, so I think that he will move to McLaren. And if you think about it, it will be the perfect place for him. He will not only have an awesome teammate in Lando Norris and a very, very good benchmark that we all highly regard. So if Pierre manages to beat Norris or be on about the same level, he will prove himself to be a very, very worthy driver for any top team. But also from Pierre's point of view, he will have a brand new team that's on the up. So McLaren has scored podiums this season. They didn't start very well, but they got there in the end. So I think that McLaren is a team on the rise. And I think that it's a team that will see him break free from both Red Bull and Red Bull powertrains, so he'll have a brand new McLaren-Mercedes partnership. And if things go very, very well at McLaren, which is a Mercedes customer team, well, maybe we don't know that if in the long-term future Mercedes may consider him to replace Lewis Hamilton once he retires. Now there's another aspect to this silly season that I think it will be really interesting, and that's the drives of Nicolas Latifi, Mick Schumacher, and whoever is going to drive alongside Esteban Ocon. Now, these are three very, very interesting drives because, in my opinion, neither Nicolas Latifi nor Mick Schumacher are performing up to the standards. So, when it comes to Nicolas Latifi, he may have been settling into the team where he was being beaten by George Russell, but everyone was talking about George Russell as being a generational talent, and he probably is because he's performing very well at Mercedes. But then to have a guy that's been dropped by Red Bull, that's been a year out of Formula 1, and then beats him straight away when it comes to a brand new team that Nicolas has been in for 3 years, well, I just don't think that Latifi is performing up to standards, and the pressure of being beaten by a guy that has just come into your team has really been making Nicolas crash a lot, and I think that we are getting to a point where the money that he brings into the team is not worth it to the team to keep him as a paid driver, because the money that Williams is losing by not having a driver scoring points and not moving up in the championship is really been more than what Nicolas is bringing to the team, especially with the amount of cars that he's been destroying. And the same exact thing goes for Mick Schumacher, because Mick Schumacher is in the exact same situation. So he has a teammate that has been 1 year outside of Formula 1 racing sports cars, just like Alex, and a guy that everyone rates as a very good and solid driver, and a driver that I'm a very big fan of in Kevin Magnussen, but a driver that's not a world star class talent such as Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen. So Magnussen is a very, very good benchmark, and we were all expecting Mick, as the driver with such a hype that he has, to just go ahead and beat him, but that's not what has been happening. So Kevin Magnussen has been beating Mick Schumacher week in and week out, and when you look at the point standings, Kevin has 15 points and Mick has 0. So imagine what Haas would stand to gain if they had two drivers scoring just like Kevin is. They would be a lot higher in the Constructors' Championship. And I think that for all that the Schumacher name is worth in terms of marketing, I just can't see his performances, especially after that Monaco crash and with the number of crashes that he has been sustaining. I just don't see it happening. Mick hasn't scored points in Formula 1 yet, and he clearly has a car that's capable of scoring points, but more importantly, he's not being able to beat Kevin in qualifying or the race, and I think that this season is doing Mick's career a very, very bad service, and I just don't think that he has what it takes to be in Formula 1 at the moment. I think that he went to the Junior Series a little bit too quickly for himself, and even though he's a driver that, just like Ricciardo, takes a long time to get used to a car, and just like Ricciardo, he got used to Formula 1 in a 2021 car, and then he has to get used to the car all over again for 2022, I think that Mick is in a point where he's just wasting the potential of that Haas car, and this may change over the season, but honestly, a lot of these contract decisions are made before the middle of the season, and I just don't see Mick Schumacher being in Formula 1 for 2023. And when it comes to that Alpine seat finally, I think that Alonso will not retire, but I think that this presents Alpine with a very, very big problem, because they have the super rookie in Oscar Piastri already sitting in the sidelines for 1 year, and I just think that they will lose him if they don't put him for a second year. I think that Alfa Romeo or AlphaTauri will pick him up and grab him from the Renault drivers program if Alpine doesn't put him in a car. Now the problem for Alpine is that they don't have any customer teams, and this makes it really tricky for them to put a young driver in a car without removing one of their current drivers. So I think that the wise move would be to bet on the future and use the foundation that you already have with Esteban Ocon and just throw Alonso out and put Piastri in the car for him to learn with Ocon, and then you would have two relatively young drivers learning and two drivers with a very, very big potential in your car, which I think would be the very best move for the future, because by this point they have sponsored Piastri's whole career and spent a lot of money with him in Formula 3 and Formula 2, and he has proven that he's Formula 1 great driver, and I honestly think it's criminal that he doesn't have a seat already. But I think that if they don't put him in a car in 2023, I think that another team will steal him. So a team like Williams, a team like Aston Martin, a team like AlphaTauri or Alfa Romeo, I think that one of those teams can steal Piastri, and by that point Alpine would just lose him. So this is one of the downsides of not having a customer team. But since they don't, they really need to make a decision about this quick, because I think that a driver with Piastri's talent has really proven his talent and proven his worth, and Alpine are giving him a lot of seat time in 2021 machinery Formula 1 cars, so I think that if Alpine doesn't put Piastri in their car, someone else will steal him. So that's been it for the first episode of this Untitled Unscripted series, so please help me out in the comments to pick a better name for this series, but I really hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you guys want to join a little bit of fun over the course of the season, I have a free league on Grid Rival, so you can join in the link down below, where you pick your fantasy team of your best drivers and teams, and then we compete over the course of the season to see who scores more points. So that's finished for this video, and thank you very much for watching. You can check out my latest video right here, or I'll catch you next week with another episode of Unscripted. So until then, goodbye!